Hey y'all, welcome back to the podcast. It's your girl, Kamie Crawford, and today we have Angelica Ray on the podcast. She's an intuitive guide, spiritual teacher, and healer. Angelica, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you. I am so excited to be here, and I'm just ready to get into some nitty-gritty of some relationships.
Yes. There's a lot to get into. But first, we have a mutual friend in common, and besties, you guys have this mutual friend too because she's been on the podcast.
Erin Claire Jones and I have worked together in the past, and I've been such a fan, Kamie, of your work and what you're doing with the pod. And so when I saw Erin Claire on, I immediately texted her and I was like, how was it to talk to Kamie? And she was like, you have to reach out to her. She would love, and her besties, our besties, would love to hear about soulmates, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Yes. So today's topic is soulmates. And, when you reached out, I was so excited because I believe in soulmates. But there are some people who don't believe in soulmates, or at least soulmates to what we know them to be. I want to know from you what a soulmate is. Like, what is soulmate energy?
Cool. Okay. So we have to start at the baseline because I realize not everybody is super fluent in this language. And so to define a soulmate, we really have to start with what is a soul, right?
Mm.
That's an important point and place to start. And the truth is the soul is that part of us that's immaterial. It's that essential part of us, that essence that goes kind of beyond this current time and space, this current body. And because there is that part of us, there's also relationships that come into play that are congruent with that part of us. So they might transcend this lifetime, this current time and space as we're experiencing it. And that's really how I see a soulmate. It's any relationship, any connection that you have that is not just defined or limited to this current narrow life experience.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you're one of those people, I don't think we have many of these kinds of listeners on the podcast, but if you don't believe in soul energy that lives on, I don't really know what to tell you. I feel like you can have a dog that you're like, this dog has been here before. This dog was my previous dog. If you can believe in that, I think that you could believe that humans experience the same thing. And I'm Christian, I'm religious, I guess, in my own way. And I grew up that way, but I believe in reincarnation. I believe in souls living multiple lives. And I believe in that. But I don't feel like you have to believe in that to believe in soulmates necessarily. I don't know. I feel like some people are just no, this is the only life that we live, and then you experience what you experience and then you move on. But you can't negate that there are people that I have met in my life where I'm I've known you before. This is not my first time. When you have that just instant connection with someone, to me that's what soul recognition energy is.
Yes, nailed it. Exactly. And if you're someone who doesn't necessarily identify with this idea of the soul or a connection beyond, I think we can all kind of understand or have had the experience where there's just some people that the energy is just different. Mm-hmm. There's just something there that is different than your ordinary Joe Schmo in the grocery store. And maybe if this language doesn't resonate for you, then just kind of put it in that context about the reasons or the different types of connections that we have just as we go about our everyday life.
Yeah. And I also believe that you can have more than one soulmate.
We're going to talk about it.
Yes. And I also believe, and I've heard, I don't know if it was in Cosmo, if it was a legitimate source. Not to say Cosmo's not legit, because back in the 90s it definitely was. But I've heard that you don't always or usually end up with your soulmate.
That's big facts.
That's true?
For sure, absolutely. But if you go by this idea that we have many different soulmates and there's different types of soulmates, then it would stand to reason that maybe we're not going to end up in a romantic relationship with everybody that is our soulmate.
Yeah, because you don't have to be in a romantic relationship with your soulmate. My best friends are my soulmates. My bitches, they're my soulmates.
True,
Like Maddie
really
said in Euphoria, bitch, you're my soulmate. That's my soulmates are my friends, my bitches.
I mean, Carrie Brown got something right, and that was definitely it, right? Like I
Yes.
think she has an incredible quote about that. Like maybe our best friends, our soulmates. You said the dog thing, and truly, like my dog is probably one of the most profound soulmates I've ever had, and he's my dog.
Yeah.
So for sure. But I would love to just like share a little bit about kind of how I can start to categorize or how we can start to think about the different types of soulmates.
Yeah.
In hopes that maybe that will conceptualize. So if we kind of understand soulmates as like these relationships that maybe transcend space and time and feel a little extraordinary, I really see them in like four main categories. And the first thing I'll say is how I came to this was I've done thousands of intuitive readings for people. It's part of what I do in my work. And I was seeing people come in with all of these different types of relationships, relationship struggles, and using the tools available, it became clear that not all relationships are created equally.
Mm-hmm.
And so these kind of categories, so to speak, began to define themselves as I was working one-on-one with people. So the first is this idea of like a soul tie or like soul family, right?
Yes.
Those are just like your people that there's a sense of familiarity with, and the interaction with these types of connections might be very fast, and it might not be super profound or have a lot of like depth or length to it, but there is this deep sense of like familiarity. And you know, I personally have the belief that souls travel together almost like homeroom as a kid, you know, like there's like kind of pod, and like we like to move through lifetimes with souls that are familiar because maybe we're working on the same stuff, or there's some sort of familiarity there. And that's kind of what I think about as like this soul tie or this like journey mate. There's like, oh yeah, I've seen you before. Like,
yeah.
Does that make sense?
1000%. But I also believe, I believe that sometimes the soul ties that you have are not with people that are necessarily good for you.
Oh, for sure.
Like you can have a soul tie with like a fuckboy that like you fucked around with plenty of times in multiple lifetimes that you've needed to learn how to get away from, right?
Absolutely. Of course. Yeah.
I know a thing or two about a thing or two.
I know you do. Over here. All that intuition comes naturally to you. So we're going to get like super woo-woo for a second, and then we'll kind of like come back. So past life soulmates, right? These are typically like souls that you feel like, oh, we've done this thing together before. Like there's, we see this a lot in like family relationships, or like really, usually like kind of more profound relationships in our life where you're like, oh yeah, like we've been here, done that. We've worked some stuff out before. And there is that like deeper level of familiarity. Then there's this other category of like a karmic partner. And so those are people that are really in your life, souls and soulmates that are really in your life for a reason. There's like a very significant reason why they come in, and they might not stay for a long time. But I think about this as maybe you're like, you know, you're driving down the street, heaven forbid, and you get into a really bad car accident or something. And maybe that car accident causes you to go to the doctor, and you go to the doctor and they're like, oh my gosh, if you would have come in, you know, 3 weeks later, we wouldn't have found this thing that we can like treat because you're here now. Perhaps the other driver of the car was that karmic soulmate. They were here to kind of jolt you into something, correct you on your path, or there's a really profound reason why that interaction has happened.
That's a deep one. But you may not ever have like a one-on-one interaction with that person.
Right? They're just there to like, or you might. I just gave one example.
Yeah.
But there's just like there's a turning point. There's a click. There's something that they're meant to inspire or catalyze or shift in you that can be profound. It could take months or years to like work that thing out. Or it can be as simple as the example that I gave.
Because I'm thinking about times in my life where I've had moments in my life, some of the biggest moments in my life and the biggest shifts that I've taken career-wise or just like personally have come from people that I only had very short interactions with. Like somebody who was like, I think that you need to meet this person because you guys would really hit it off. And it could be somebody that I just met. I remember the way that I found my modeling agency was I was at an event for the UN. I met this woman. She was like, you need to meet this person. Put us on email. Never saw her again. We never spoke again. And I had an extensive modeling career. How I met my TV hosting coach was this woman who I had met one time in person was like, you need to meet with Barbara Abel, whose podcast I was also on. You guys should listen to it if you want to be a TV host. But she's like an on-camera trainer. And she was like, you need to meet her, and put us on email. And I never saw this woman again. I think that is what you're talking about.
1000%. Yes, absolutely. That is it. And those soulmates are just as profound as any sort of like romantic type that we might have. And you could also see how that translates to dating, right? Where you're dating someone and you're like, oh, like maybe you move across the country to go be with this person that you think you're going to be like your happily ever after. And then you're like, like maybe the relationship didn't work out, but maybe it was just meant that I was supposed to be in this city. And so like, that was what I needed to plant myself here. So that's exactly what you're
What do you think about like deja vu when it comes to these kinds of things?
And it's so funny. That's like one of the things I wanted to say for this, like, it can definitely be a indication that there's something deeper going on. So that those like quick flashes, but also, sometimes you're like you have sisters. Mm-hmm. There's like times where you're in those relationships with your siblings. You're like, I feel more like your grandmother than your sister, or you feel more like my dad than you do my sister.
Yes.
And that's a really interesting thing too, because you're playing out dynamics that maybe you've done before in those relationships now. And like, there's kind of like this familiarity, like, why are you talking to me? Like, like you're younger than me or whatever. And you're talking to me like, you're the boss of me. And there's kind of something to that.
Yeah. I definitely think my sister Victoria was my mom in a past life, because she bosses me around all the time and always tells me what to do. And then my sister Milan, who we're only a year apart, she's always saying like, I never feel like you are a year apart from me. Like I never feel like you're a year older than me. You feel so much older to me. So maybe I was her mom.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
Sure. So it's interesting. We can start to like look at things through this lens. And then the type of soulmate that like loves to be like touted in this space is, everybody's heard this term, like the twin flame.
Yes.
Release. Have you heard that before?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
What are your thoughts about it? What do you know about it?
So don't they say, well, I think everyone has a twin flame, but you only get one twin flame? Is that what it is? And like, I don't exactly know where it stems from, but it kind of reminds me of like the whole Greek mythology, like the whatever, they were conjoined and then one half went somewhere else. And I'm butchering the fuck out of it, but like that's what twin flame reminds me of. It's like a flame that maybe used to be one and then parted ways, and then they're meant to find each other again in life.
Beautiful. Yeah. So that's like, that is one of the concepts, is that these, like, this type of a relationship is really like a mirror image, right? It's like looking into your mirror and kind of like seeing yourself reflected back to you. But there's like so much toxic bullshit that kind of has been built into this like idea that, oh, I'm searching for my like twin flame, and there's only like this one person that's out here in this world that's going to complete me. And I just really wanted to like dispel that myth for our besties that you're looking for this like one twin flame. Because personally, I don't want to be in a relationship with my twin flame.
Yeah.
While it can be like super illuminating and really healing, they can also be really challenging, like deeply challenging, perhaps like problematic in some ways, depending on like how healed and how much work either party has done. But yeah, it's an interesting concept.
No, it is, because I've had those relationships where I'm like, oh my God, we're the same person. And you'll get in those relationships and then you're like, as time goes on, you're like, we're the same person. Like it's a different energy. It shifts. So you're like, oh shit, like I should not be with you because we're the same. And that mirror, they always say too about Scorpios that like we're the mirror to people. Like we show people who they really are. But like when you think about that, sometimes you don't want to look at your reflection. Sometimes like I feel like I look at my reflection the most when I'm like bawling my eyes out and I'm looking in the mirror like, ah. But like, you know, sometimes you don't want to see what's looking back at you, and sometimes it can be scary. Like if you're butt ass naked in front of the mirror looking at yourself, sometimes it could be scary. You're like it's like your most raw, real self. And if you think about that in the sense of like a twin flame that holds that mirror up to you and shows you all the things that you don't like about yourself, all the things you do like, but all the things that you need to change and work on, that's a lot of pressure.
A whole lot of pressure. And even that part is a lot of pressure, but also the pressure to find this one person is like a lot of pressure. So yeah, it's super vulnerable. It can be really, really challenging. Yeah, this idea of like being naked and having to stare at yourself and it tracks. It definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Would you say that a twin flame is typically a romantic partner?
So definitely that's the context that terminology twin flame is used the most. And that's when I've seen it, is how I see it the most, because ideally like that soul is kind of, it's at the same level of like evolution as you are, so to speak. So there's quite a bit of a match there. But that's a really good question. I'll have to check that out a little bit more and see if I've ever seen, or if have to ask spirit if there's
Let me know what they say, child, please. But not too much. not too much. Wait, what's your sign, by the way?
I am a Virgo. I'm a Virgo.
It's your season.
I just had a birthday last week.
Happy birthday. We love Virgos. Relationship is a Virgo. So happy birthday to our Virgos.
She really is.
Yes.
She is Virgo energy. She's beautiful and pristine and keeps everybody on point. And she keeps it raw and real, as our Virgo queens love to do.
Exactly. I'm a rising Virgo, so I think it just naturally comes out that way. But yes, very opinionated. But, you know, has the facts and the people who come on to back up what we're talking about here. So that's how we get by. That's how we get by without getting cussed out. Okay, so soulmates, soul ties, that's all one thing. And then twin flame is another aspect of it.
Yeah, they're all kind of different like categories of the same thing, and they can overlap, right? So like it's not like a box that you need to put something in, or you're like, oh, let me label it. But it's helpful to just kind of say like, oh, what's happening here? What are the dynamics? And there's definitely like implications for dating and relationships as it, you know, kind of pertains to these different types of soulmates. But it's just good to notice like, oh, is this someone that I'm familiar with? Or is this someone I'm meant to like learn a bigger lesson with? Because the truth is, and I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is like, not everyone that there's chemistry or familiarity with makes a good partner for you in this lifetime. Your face says it all right now, right? Yeah.
I'm having visions. I'm having visions, really dark visions of past lives. No, it's true. Because, I mean, I think that's why they say, like, your soul lives on to learn different lessons, I think, every time that it's here. Like, and if you haven't learned it in this lifetime, then the next lifetime you'll learn it. And sometimes people come into your life for you to learn those lessons. And it's not always a good experience. Like, it's not always going to be a good experience.
Absolutely. And there's also times where you're like, man, like I feel like this deep connection, or at least I've had these times, speaking of flashbacks and scary experiences, I've had times where I feel like a deep soul connection with someone, but I'm like, oh my God, you are a nightmare to like date or try to be in a relationship with, you know, like not treating me well. Like this relationship thing is not working. And so it's important to say, just because there's familiarity, just because there's soul work to be done, is not permission to like stay in a relationship that is not functioning as a healthy relationship.
Yes. No, it's so true. That's so true. What are the other types?
That was it. So those are like the main four.
Okay.
So there's like the soul ties kind of thing, this like soul family, and then there's the past life. Mm-hmm. There's this like karmic, which is marked by like a very intentional purpose and reason, and then like the twin flame.
Got it. Okay. So what would you say is the feeling that you get when you have met a soulmate?
Familiarity, I think, is like the biggest part of it. It's like, I get you, you get me, and not like a weird stalker, like I've been following you online and like now I feel like I know everything about your life, but really this just deep sense of familiarity. There's usually like a sense of like safety and kind of transparency and vulnerability. It's just like, it's good vibes, you know. It's like, well, not necessarily good vibes, but it's vibes of, oh yeah, there's something here beyond what we can see, hear, taste, touch, smell. Like there's something else happening.
Yeah. And guys, I think this is a little bit different. What Angelica's talking about is a little bit different than being wasted in the bathroom at like Delilah and meeting a girl that you just shared a tampon with and had a 5-hour long conversation with at the sink. Like we're talking about other experiences.
We're not going to knock the bathroom encounters with like people that we are convinced after one too many shots of tequila are our soulmates. Like, yes. Been there, done that.
Yes. Same.
Everybody's a soulmate in the woman's bathroom.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, my God. I've met so many incredible girls. And then we're like, we're going to go to brunch. And then I never see them again. And it's been 10 years.
The brunch has never happened.
The brunch has never occurred. But, you know, we love that. We love that. Okay. I feel like I know what you're talking about. As far as the familiarity, I've had that. I want to say with romantic partners, I've had that 3 solid times. One more recently is, I mean, relative, who fucking knows? So what is time, right? But the feeling that I got was like, it felt like I felt it like in my gut. It was like a woo. And it wasn't even, I hadn't even talked to the person. And it wasn't like a physical thing. It was like it felt like a body thing. Like it felt like I was literally being like pushed or something. I don't know how to describe it, but I was like, there's something happening.
That is really profound, because what you're touching on is what they call like the clairs, which are your intuitive senses, right? We've heard of like clairvoyant, but there's these intuitive senses: clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. And basically those are the ways that we receive and perceive intuitive or energy information. So you're describing like, oh, I felt it in my body, I felt it in my core. That's a very like clairsentient experience, which is like clear feeling. My guess in hearing that is you probably feel a lot of body sensations. So if
I be feeling sensations, girl. Me and my girl Claire, we feel all the sensations.
You know, we're not mad at that. You know, whatever we do. But yeah, there's probably like when you're like really nervous about something, do you feel that very like strongly in your body? Yeah, exactly.
I like, what is it called when you feel it, when you feel the things?
Clairsentient.
I'm clairsentient. All right. Okay. Very much so. If I'm tired, if I'm stressed, whatever it is, my whole body like shuts down. If I get into an argument with somebody that I really care about, for like 2 days, I have to just be in the bed, like resting, because I feel so much. This sounds so like emo girl, but like I feel so much that sometimes I'm like, do other people feel as much as I do? And then I talk to other water signs and they're like, yes. I talk to other empaths and they're like, yes. But sometimes I feel it's almost like too much, too heavy. Like, and I take on other people's. I have been in the car driving down the street. I will not forget. It was a few months ago. This girl at the bus stop, she wasn't even crying. Nothing was happening. I just looked at her and I instantly like wanted to cry. I was like, oh my God, like whatever she's dealing with, I'm now dealing with, and I need to get the fuck out of this red light so that I can go home and like take a shower. And that's another thing I do a lot, is shower, because when situations like this happen, like I just feel like I have to, it's a very water sign energy. I just feel like I need to be in water and like cleanse it away.
Yes. Oh, that's so number one, it's beautiful that you have the awareness, right? Like that's the first step. And for a long time before my intuitive gifts really like came online, I was walking through the world like that, and it was taking me out. And I forget, like my mentor was like, listen, you are really talented at this work, but unless you get this boundaries part right, and unless you learn to do a better job of energetic hygiene and maintenance, you won't be able to serve this way, because every time you drive past a bus stop, it's going to take you out of the game. So definitely for you, that you're like such an empath, yes, all of the water stuff, but truly just being such an intuitive person like you are, energetic boundaries is going to be so important, so that you're not taking all of that on all the way, and you're not just walking through the world as like an open sponge for people's shit.
Girl, I feel like SpongeBob. Sad SpongeBob half the time. I'm just like, God damn it. Like, sometimes I don't want it. Sometimes it's nice when you're around people that like fill you up and make you feel, you know, really like lively and excited. But then sometimes like too much down, too much sad, she cannot take. Too much angry, too much, like, I cannot. Me and my Clacentia.
That's a new one. That's the Kamie special right there. Yeah.
I think that's my drag name.
We landed.
Yes.
I mean, this is complete.
Yes.
We've all had to get to, but definitely good grounding and boundaries is going to be helpful for that. You know, it's the same thing, like you walk into a room or whatever, and you can like feel the energy of the room or the people in there. Like, oh my God, I have got to get out of here, like immediately. Like you feel it in your body, like almost like your skin is crawling, like, get me out. Yeah.
All the time.
Those are mighty senses.
Girl, but I don't know. The spirits don't be talking to me. Thank God. I don't need anybody else talking to me. I don't know how you do it. I don't need anybody else talking.
Boundaries is how you do it.
Oh, God. Okay. So I feel like, okay, the familiarity, sometimes you'll feel it in your body. Sometimes you'll feel it, you know, if you feel it in your other, you know, your under beyonders, I think that's a different kind of feeling. Not the same, I'm assuming. Could be. You know, we're not judging.
And they left on you last lifetime.
Right. That's true. They might have left a lasting impression. That's so funny.
There's also this, like, I didn't expect to tie this in, but clairvoyant, right? Like where you're like, oh, I've seen this before, or like you look familiar, but I've never seen your face before. Those can all kind of be signs that there's something else going on. And paying attention to how you feel that resonance is also going to be a really good indicator of how you receive intuitive and energetic information for yourself.
I love that. Well, we asked our listeners if they believe in soulmates, of course. And 73% said yes, 27% said no, which, if not, I wonder why. Maybe because they haven't met one yet. But when we asked them, do you believe that you've met your soulmates? Because it's plural is an option. 47% said yes, and 53% said no. So maybe some of those from the past one just haven't experienced it yet.
Or I wonder if they're just thinking of it through like this very narrow definition, and maybe this context of hearing that there's like different types of soulmates and we can have different like human relationships with them beyond romantic. People might have a different understanding after kind of hearing it a little bit differently. Yeah,
no, you're right. We asked people, who in your life do you believe is your soulmate? We have a few people saying my best friend. Someone said, my best friend, soulmates are meant for besties. No man will ever understand me on that level. I get that. Somebody said, my fiance, we met and were engaged within 3 months. Feels like 10 years and it's been 1.5 years.
Wow.
Could be a past life connection.
Yeah.
Someone said, my partner. Someone said, a girl I met at school. We always had a weird connection, and now at 31. Oh, she elaborated in the DM. Hold on, I gotta check. But first, I want to read some more. Someone said, my mates, my sister, my partner. Someone said their twin brother. What do you think about twins as far as like soulmates, twin flame energy? Like there's got to be something with that.
I mean, the writing is kind of on the wall with that one. I mean, twin flames and twins is probably a pretty big indicator. Those are definitely like souls that are very closely tied.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like
it's too about twins and like their psychic or intuitive connection.
Yes.
And it's very wild stuff.
Yes. My youngest sisters are twins, and I wonder if you are born a twin, like, there's no way you haven't experienced life with this person every single time. Every single time you've been here, they've been attached to your hip in some way, I think.
It's like you could not get it right with them in the last time, and then finally you guys were like, oh, we're just gonna force ourselves to get it right coming in as twins this time, so we like have such a deep connection that we have to work out our shit together.
That just blew my fucking mind, and I'm gonna call my sisters after this and tell them that, and they're gonna be like, shut up, you're so bizarre. But I think it's true. Oh, someone said that they used to think that they found their soulmate and then they got married.
Well.
I mean, that happens. I think there are people, I think when we think about soulmates in the sense that you were talking about, that most people see it, when the relationship doesn't work out, you're either like, oh, I guess they weren't my soulmate, or I guess I'm never going to find my soulmate. But the reality is that you can have multiple soulmates. And sometimes too, I think we force soulmate on people. I think we force people to be our soulmates, even though it's not giving.
It might not be that deep.
Yeah.
It might not be deep. But like having context, right, was like, I thought I found my soulmate and then I got married. It's like, okay, having this understanding can really go a long way in helping us maybe like heal from those connections that felt really profound and like didn't pan out the way our logical linear brain thought they should. And it's like, okay, maybe if I look at this from a different perspective, well, maybe was there some like really big lessons that I learned in this relationship that were fundamental to the evolution of my soul, or whatever it might be. Like having this kind of a lens on it can hopefully offer some healing too around things that didn't work out, and you can see purpose in them regardless.
Yeah. I will say, for my last relationship, I felt like he was my twin flame. We've had so much in common. We were so similar in so many ways, but then different in many, many ways. But after the relationship ended, I learned so much about myself, about relationships. Like, I felt like I really took something away, even though the relationship didn't last. And things that I would have never learned had I not met this person, and had that relationship not happened and ended, I wouldn't be the person that I am now, functioning in relationships the way that I am now, if it wasn't for that. And it wasn't even just about the heartbreak. It was about the good times too, and about like the lessons and things that you learn with someone. I think, reframing it sometimes, especially when relationships end or they don't end up the way that you thought that they were going to, that at the end of the day, you learn something, hopefully.
And that's such a beautiful awareness, Kamie. Like, sometimes we don't know what to ask for. We don't know what to ask God for. We don't know what to ask the universe for until we've like seen it in somewhere. And it's like, oh, maybe the relationship didn't work out, but I never knew that I actually really needed somebody that had this quality or showed up for me this way. And that could be like a huge part of the reason, like you said, is like, oh, I learned so much about what I wanted in this relationship that I know to take forward and to like ask for and to look for moving forward is just as profound as the shitty parts.
Right. Exactly. I mean, some people are just shit. And you
can't. Definitely just fuckboys.
Yeah. But sometimes you can learn valuable lessons. There's valuable things to be learned. Let's see. Okay. Someone said, hi, I believe that my best friend Elijah is definitely one of my soulmates. We share the same birthday, August 20th. I'm just a year older than he is. We were both born within the same time frame, though. He was born at 11:17 p.m. and I was born at 11:53. Our astrology charts are damn near the same as well. I'm a Leo sun, Virgo cusp, Cancer moon, Taurus rising. He's a Leo sun with a Virgo cusp, Scorpio moon, Taurus rising, and we both have a Virgo Mercury. We understand each other like no other. We share the same passions, dreams, personality, etc. We can literally look at each other and know what the other is thinking. He's literally the brother I never had, and I have actual brothers. He has literally made my life so much better, and I love him so much. Also, I really love you, Kamie, and this podcast. Thank you so much. First of all, how many times you said literally in this lets me know that this is literally your soulmate.
Literally, this is true. We definitely believe you, sis, because the conviction in which you gave us all the details
Yes.
Spot on.
Spot on. Oh my God, I love that. Okay, this person says, "Hi, Kamie. I'm sending this in regards to your post about who we think is our soulmate. I recently just got married to mine, and we both actually believe we're soulmates. Although we've been judged because we're 15 years apart, that just never stopped us because we just knew that we were meant to be together. We're best friends, have similar goals in life. We bring out the best in each other. We've been so comfortable since day one when we met as coworkers. We shared such a deep emotional connection. We've never felt this way with anyone ever. We don't judge each other. We support each other. And can you believe in the 4 years that we've been together, we have never had a fight? Never, I swear. Sometimes I feel like it's just too good to be true. We're completely happy with each other. We know nothing could ever come between us. I'm crying as I'm writing this because it's insane. We didn't go look for each other. I know the universe brought us together."
Aww.
That's so sweet. You've never had a fight, not even about him leaving the cap off the toothpaste or, leaving the toilet seat up or not putting the toilet paper roll back on, Never? Maybe both of you are sent from Jesus. Maybe you're actually just angels and
I'm gonna come do this earth thing together and we'll hang out together in the meantime.
Yes.
Wow.
Beautiful.
4 years without a fight.
Yes. Crazy. And she and I have the same birthday. Hey, Scorpio twin. Love that. Okay. Someone says, "I believe soulmates are your friends. Those who accept you through years and years and who you can be 100% yourself with. It can be romantic, family, or platonic, but there's a feeling you get when you're with them that's just like, bitch, you're my soulmate. These are people whose presence lights up your heart." That's so true. That's so real. Oh, somebody said, "I don't believe in soulmates. I believe two people fall in love and work at their relationship and grow together. Saying the word soulmates makes it seem like you're bonded to each other, and love shouldn't be that. People are growing, evolving every day. Who you thought was your soulmate 10 years ago might not be your soulmate now. Love shouldn't be defined that way. I've been married for 4 years. I don't think of my husband as my soulmate. I think of him as my partner that I am in love with, growing with." I mean, I get that perspective. I understand it. But I think that's thinking of soulmates in a very specific sense of it can only be your romantic partners. Because I'm sure if I were to ask this person, could your best friend be your soulmate? Or could your cat be your soulmate? Could your mom be your soulmate? They'd be like, oh my God, yes. But when we think of it as romantic partners, maybe not. And like we were talking about, why do you think so many people don't end up with their soulmate as like a romantic partner? Or a soulmate as a romantic partner?
Well, number one, I think not everybody comes to a relationship like as their authentic self, like I think there's a lot of people who come to relationships, not everyone, of course, obviously. There's a lot of people that come to relationships because they feel like it's the right thing to do or what they're supposed to want, or they're kind of maybe like playing a role to be in the context of that relationship. And it's hard to find someone who is genuinely like connected to you when you're not super vulnerable with them or you're not being like your full authentic self with them. So maybe that's one of the reasons. I mean, I would even argue that like if you are marrying someone and you're in this journey of committing to like growth and evolution, whatever that looks like, that person is a form of a soulmate for you. Like no matter what, they're contributing to the evolution of your soul, to the growth of your soul. You're learning lessons with them, but that does take a bit of a commitment. It takes, like she said, like, I was listening to that question and I was hearing like, yeah, you guys are committed to like your growth individually and together. Like that is the mark of a soulmate. That is what this is about, is like someone that you're choosing to do this journey with, or that you've done this journey with before. And yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but I think bringing authenticity to the relationship is really important. And if you're not, it's really hard to be met with a partner that is truly a match for that deep part of you that's your soul.
Yeah, I think there's just, when you hear the word soulmate, I think people put too much pressure on it, because sometimes a soulmate isn't necessarily somebody who every single time you're having a dark time, you have to, it's not like you're you're not a pest to this person. You're not like a parasite to this person. You're not feeding off of this person's soul and energy to be able to live. That's not what this is. I think it's more of, this is the person that you are meant to meet to learn things about yourself and learn things about the world and dating and friendship and family. And like, that to me is what a soulmate is. It's not somebody who like, you have to be next to me all the time because you're my soulmate. Like, and I can't lose you because you're my soulmate. Because if we think of your life having had multiple soulmates in it, then it alleviates some of that pressure from the other person.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, that you've said it perfectly.
That's just what I think, but what the fuck do I know? I don't be talking to spirit.
They gave you a podcast all about relationships, so you got to know something.
That's true, but I did make it up myself. So I hired myself. I gave myself the permission. I was like, you know what, you go ahead. You go ahead and do it. I hired in-house, but I just think, I don't know. I get the perspective, and I get the people who are probably listening who are like eye rolling, like bullshit. But like, why are we here? Like, why are we on this earth if it not to? And why do we make these connections? And why? Because like sometimes, very deep Scorpio emo girl. Sometimes I'm like, when people pass, like, when you have people who are close to you in life and like they pass away, like even when my dog died not that long ago, I was just like, why the fuck do we have these connections? Why do we love? Why do we have any of these things if one day we might lose them? And when you have a breakup, it's like, why do I even fucking bother being in a relationship if one day it may not work out and I may not have this person and I'm going to feel this way? I never want to feel this way again. I even said it, when my future kids ask for pets, I'm going to be like, fuck no, you do have no idea what I went through losing this damn dog. And it was a dog. Like, it was sad, but it was a dog. I'm like, how do I have this emotional connection for an animal? And sometimes when you think about like, why do we have these connections? It's because that's what keeps us going. Like, that's what keeps us fulfilled and living life. And like, I don't know, very, very water sign energy, but like,
that is the whole point. We're here to connect. We're here to help each other learn. We're here as souls on a journey to like ascend, to understand ourselves better, to learn things. And we do that in relationship with other people. And there's varying layers and types of these relationships. And by embracing the fact that not everybody who is meant to contribute to our life in a meaningful way is going to be our spouse for eternity, and is like, okay, that just gives us so much permission to find fulfillment outside of and beyond just that narrowly defined context of romantic relationships.
Amen, sis. Amen. Can you let our audience know where they can find you?
Yes. So I am at Angelica Ray on Instagram. You can find me on my website, www.angelicaray.com, and it's Ray. I'm guessing it will be maybe in the show notes, but yes. A-N-G-E. Okay, there we go. So it'll be in the show notes. I do Monday messages. So if you're looking for a little bit of guidance as you start the week, that's a really cool way to connect. You can get some quick downloads and information that way. And I am so excited to connect with all of you. And I would love to hear your feedback. So come hang out with me on the page. I would love to keep this dialogue about soulmates going beyond this conversation.
Yes, girl. The people want to talk about it. They're going to have many thoughts and be rushing to your DMs with their situations. Be like, do you believe that this is my soulmate? Yes or no? Can you tell if somebody has met their soulmate?
So it's really cool. When I do readings for people, I can pretty easily read the energy of the relationship. So I can see like, what is the purpose of the relationship? What layer is the relationship working on? Not how deep is it, but like, what is it trying to heal, or what is the purpose of the relationship? I can see a lot about the path of the relationship, and like, there's all kinds of really cool stuff that can happen in a reading around relationships.
And they can get readings through your website?
Yes. You can learn more about my work and book a one-on-one session with me through my website.
There we go, y'all. You better book a session, but not about that fuckboy, because that's not your soulmate. Do about somebody legit, okay? Save your money until you have somebody good. Please. Don't embarrass me. Don't embarrass me.
If you need to be told that he's a fuckboy like one more time,
Yeah.
you'd come over gladly, your good Virgo sis
Yes.
will tell you in a loving but direct way, shout out to my Cancer moon.
Yes. Oh,
He's a fuckboy.
there we go. There we go. Angelica, thank you so much for joining us.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you. Hi, I'm Kamie Crawford, host of the Relationship podcast. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more videos, click below to subscribe and like this video for more Dear Media content. So shut up and listen.